Hello, hello, hello. Hooligan Soccer Podcast, Champions League Game Week 8 special with, as ever, the Qooligan. I don't know if that's a red cloth for the Bulls or a reference
for the Bulls.
For
the Bulls. No, not. We're not getting into red card controversy today. That's for another podcast. But no, we're not touching any of the red card nonsense that happened over the weekend. Is not happening. Not on this podcast.
We're not getting sucked into that red herring. And myself, Gary Stryker, as always. And we are
Gary. Good one. I like the red herring. That was good.
And so we are obviously going to be covering the upcoming first of its kind ever Champions League Game Week 8. And
Decision day, baby.
Decision day. CBS.
Decision day.
CBS Paramount Plus they were marketing it as Wednesday Mayhem, which is I think fairly apt as well. They're going to obviously have to have a new format as well with the way we watch it there, because they're going to be there. But I believe they're going to be having the traditional pundits of Carragher over on the Golasso show, and then there's obviously just going to be this one Golasso show. So you have all of these games happening all at the same time. This has never happened before in the Champions League because of the new reformatting. So we've got quite a lot to sort of dig into and cover off.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
So I think what we'll do is we'll cover off, just touch on last week's results sort of briefly, just some of the highlights as well, because there were some wild results on there. And then Yeah. And then look into sort of this week's fixtures, and then I think what we want to start doing is just looking about who's going to be the patsy in this league, because there's going to be a couple of people when the music stops, they're not going to have a chair to sit down on, and they're going to look pretty embarrassed.
Agreed.
All right, let's get into it. So last week, obviously the Qooligan, we had game week 7. I think there was most of the results were pretty expected, except for about 3 or 4 that really jumped out. The one, for me, the biggest and the most exciting game, and I know we were messaging at the same time, was obviously why am I losing my train of thought here as well? I'm losing my mind. But it was that Atletico. Sorry, not the Atletico game. What am I saying? The Benfica Barcelona game. There we go. Got there in the end.
I knew you'd get there. I was watching you, Stu.
Professional courtesy. Thank you.
It was fun. It was fun to watch you think.
It's a rare occurrence. So Benfica Barcelona. That game was just absolutely just pure entertainment. Pure entertainment. Why we love the game. Why we want to keep doing it.
They don't get much better than that.
Yeah.
They don't get much better than that. That game had it all.
It did. It had it all. Penalties, red cards, it had own goals, it had last-minute winners, thrilling goals.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was
a hat trick, incredible. a first half hat trick.
Yes.
Right? I mean, just, and it looked over. I actually was writing in my summary of the game while sort of monitoring the game, and I had it all written at 71 minutes. I thought it was done. Right? Benfica was up 4-2. Pavlidis had his hat trick. Barcelona answered with 3 goals, one of which was an own goal. And I'm going, all right, this is wild. This is crazy. And I wrote that. And I didn't step away. I think I was watching something else. And the next thing I know, I come back and it's 4-4.
Yeah.
and I'm all going, what the hell? And then Rafinha. And I got no words. I have no words.
Yeah. It was.
I mean, you knew it. You knew it as soon as that ball went in. As soon as that ball went long.
You can say,
oh God! If it touches his foot, this game's over. And sure enough, he got the ball.
And it happened.
Makes the cut, does the twist, puts it in. You're like, damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Fantastic game. It shows why Barcelona are really on the upswing. I think why they're dominating in La Liga, and they're way ahead as well, looking good. Hansi Flick, the new German manager, has really sort of done wonders with them and made them look strong. And if you think about it as well, they are on real financial pressures, on real shoestring budgets. They're having all sorts of these issues. They can't register players because they're in breach of financial regulations and all these kind of things. But yet there is that DNA, that gene, that pedigree. And what's interesting as well is they've had to go and sort of dip into their youth team, La Masia, which is obviously their conveyor belt. And I mean,
Sure.
if it's throwing off players like Lamine Yamal and Pedri, Gavi, and some of those other players as well. It's just wow. It really is. It reminds me a little bit of when Chelsea had that transfer embargo, and then they actually had to start using their kids because they couldn't get in, and all of a sudden it just is a forcing function for that, and it's been wonderful. And they in theory, you could argue that if they just sort of let those players run hot for a few more years, they could sell them off for a couple of $100 million each and solve their financial problems, no problem, right?
Masia has always been an incredible academy, right? Mm-hmm. One of the world's best. I'm not surprised to see them if they're digging into that it's going to yield incredible results, as it should.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that represents also a possible pathway out for them. I just don't think the Barcelona executive team is smart enough to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
I mean, they ran the club they're running the club. They ran it into the ground. Are they going to be smart enough to bring it up? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Maybe
we'll have to wait and see.
Maybe they've learned from their mistakes, but yes, that's
possibly
that's true. Yeah. So Barcelona, Barcelona managed to snatch that win, and so that puts them in guaranteed qualified position in terms they are through, they are done, they can breathe easily, and I make the sort of tongue-in-cheek joke that they can play the kids, but they're already playing the kids in this next game week, so maybe they can kids as well. They can get a deeper look inside of what's in the future for that. Just scratching around some of those other results. I think obviously the PSG Man City game was very interesting.
No. PSG Man City's today. That's Wednesday, Gary.
That's
PSV played. They traveled to Serbia to play Red Star. They were playing. No, last week.
Yeah, we're talking last week, right? Last week, PSG Man City played last week, right?
Oh, you said PSV. I swear to God, you said PSV.
We'll check the tape. I did. Well, PSG was what meant to come out of my mouth.
That's perfectly acceptable, and I understand how the G and the V can get confused. They're very close to each other on the Gary Stryker mental keyboard. It's okay. It's fine. I understand.
Yes.
But let's at least talk a little. Let's talk because that was a wild and crazy game as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, PSV just came out like gangbusters, scored 3 goals, right away. They're 3 goals up. They're going into the dressing room. They're feeling good. They come out, and then Ryan Flamingo. Whoa, I don't know. Red mist, harsh call, gets the straight red. Boom. They're down to 10 men. Belgrade's making a push. I mean, wow. Couldn't do it. I mean, I think it speaks a little bit to a little steeliness that PSV have, right? They're not just about high flying attack. They had to dig in and make it happen. They did. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge win for them because that puts them into contention, right? That actually puts them in the realm of like, oh, yeah, okay. In fact, it may even have locked them down. Let me just check my standings. No. Yeah, no. They are not in a guaranteed spot. They're the first of the team. They're what I like to call the bubble teams. We'll get to that later. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
I have to say that my pick on that day for really interesting results were from that Tuesday. I really thought the Atletico Madrid Bayern Leverkusen game was fascinating.
That was, yeah.
It was for a lot of reasons. One, it was like a sanctioned mugging between two teams. I mean, they were all over each other. I mean, and Atleti goes down. They had a red card in the 25th minute, so they were down 10, down to 10 for the majority of the game. Got a header goal, went up. Leverkusen equalized, and I'm telling you, man, Julian Alvarez they did not handle him.
Wow.
He just single-handedly just beat that team. It was a brutal over, and not to that goal was nuts, right? But still goes to show the incredible, right? What Atletico Madrid have, and what City lost, right?
Yeah, it's true. No, I agree. I thought.
Boy, would they be wanting Alvarez right now?
Oh yeah, Alvarez. I mean, if you think about Alvarez, he really does look electric. He really does. And if you look at it, I mean, even when he was at City as a second string striker playing second to Erling Haaland, he'd won the World Cup with Argentina, and he started and played and scored.
Sure.
And so he wasn't sort of a squad player. He was absolutely sort of a key feature for that team. And then in the same season, won the treble with Manchester City. So he's won the Champions League, won the Premier League, won the FA Cup. So you can argue, and then obviously they went on to win the World Club Cup and all those things. So he's at his young age, he's pretty much won it all, right? So he really is. And I agree with you. If you look at sort of Man City, how they've had to go out and go and spy that sort of that Egyptian Mamouche, I think his name is, right? The Egyptian that
Mamouche,
Mamouche.
Yeah.
And so they went and spent a similar amount of money that they sold him for to sort of try and replace him in a way. So it's interesting. Maybe just a little bit of sort of decision making and sort of forward thinking could have offset that. But yeah, I agree. But that was definitely an interesting one. But yeah, to see Man City collapse in such a simple way was also very, very sort of telling about sort of the fragility of Manchester City's defence and sort of their back end. I was surprised PSG actually had the steel and the ability to sort of push through and sort of bang in two additional goals to go and get that win and come back. But they did it. So PSG are sort of saving themselves and looking pretty good.
But City just handed it to them. I'm sorry. It is. I mean, might as well just jump straight to this game because there was some really good analysis that happened, and CBS, and of course Thierry Henry, who really does, who has an incredible vision on the game. The third goal that came in, right? João Neves. In the first half, Man City had a free kick from a similar area. They set themselves up, put them on the 18-yard line, right? Everybody's all scrumming around in the middle. João Neves is staying off on the far side. And PSG is using a player to essentially try to block a Manchester defender from coming in and sweeping outside, to mark him. In the first half, João Neves managed to break through, got the ball in his head, put it over the bar. It's fine. Second half, it was literally the exact same play. And he was still all the way over there on that far side, unmarked. And this time, they didn't even pick him up. And he just sailed right in and put that ball, right there on a nice, strong, downward-facing header on slick grass, skipped right in.
Yeah.
How does a professional team like City allow the same set piece twice to be successful? That's the question I ask. Who was paying attention to that? I mean, they should have seen it in the first half. They should have said, "Hey, by the way, watch out for that guy Neves on the outside because he came close." Yeah. They fell for it twice. Yeah. And you don't expect that from a team of that caliber. And that's not even to take into account the what I like to to paraphrase Chris Berman on ESPN, the wildest 11 minutes in sports, which was when Man City suddenly scored 2 unanswered goals, and then PSG just answered with 2 unanswered goals. It's like 4 goals in 11 minutes.
It was wild. It certainly was wild. And I agree. And
especially after that first half, which was 0-0. And by all intents and purposes, a perfectly acceptable half, but nothing that hinted at the chaos that was to come. Yeah,
it just suddenly exploded, an explosion of chaos in a way, right? It just how sort of, again, with teams with such experience and such pedigree, absolutely sort of went and did it. I thought there was a really touching moment at the end. You could see when Guardiola and Luis Enrique, who interestingly enough, obviously used to play for Barcelona, was Barcelona's manager, won the Champions League with Barcelona, and was also Pep Guardiola's teammate when they both played at Barcelona. So obviously they knew each other very well. There was a wonderful moment there. You could see where they're both like, whew, that was a wild one. You could really tell that they were glad it was over. Yeah. They were glad it was over. Okay, so let's turn our attentions then to the game week coming up. In terms of all the other stuff that's going on as well, because this is where the real excitement is and going on. So if we just sort of look at some of these fixtures coming up, which are the ones that jump out at you? I know you've been sort of looking at sort of some of the numbers and sort of, tell me which games excite you?
Let's see. Well, the first, I'm doing this through alphabetical, right? Because I just have my notes in alphabetical order. The first one that jumps out at me is Brest versus Real Madrid.
Okay.
And so Real, they've underperformed in this Champions League campaign, right? They've not been at their best. They were at their best last week. And it wasn't just that they were at their best. Their three most important players were at their best, right? You had Mbappe, you had right, Vinicius, you had Rodrigo, and then you had Bellingham with the assists, right?
Yes.
So those are the four big names, and they all showed up. If they show up again this week, I'm not sure Brest has much of a chance. Brest has been a fairy tale, right? They're in no matter what, so they know that they're at least going to be able to play. That they're going to play off, right? So they're in a great position because they can really sort of enjoy the novelty, right? They can really enjoy the idea that they're playing at the highest level in the world without having to worry about the consequences of well, to be blunt, fucking it up. But that's such a great, and they're at home. So what do they got to lose? I want Brest to come out hell-bent for leather, just firing on all cylinders and scare the living bejesus out of Real. I mean, I want Real to be terrified.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if they lose either. I don't have any problem if they lose. But I think that match could really just, that could just be great.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I think the other interesting thing that I'm looking at that I see as well as you're right is that it looks pretty set that Real, again, even if Real
they're guaranteed.
Moves, right?
They're guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they've got a playoff spot. They're just above the bubble.
So I think the only variable here is if Brest can get a sneaker win, it guarantees them a guaranteed spot and they don't have to go into the playoffs. And so that is the incentive for Brest.
That is true. I'm looking. Yeah, they need a little luck, but the win gives them that chance.
Yes,
it gives them a chance, right? There are any team with 13 points or greater, and that's Brest, Lille, all the way on up. Anybody with 13 points or greater, if they get a win, there's a chance for them to make it into the top 10. They would need some of the ones above them to fall. So I mean, it's like a crazy House of Cards scenario, right? Where you're trying to switch the cards without the whole house toppling down. But obviously, winning is better, as we all know. But they're going to need a little help.
They are. I agree with you. It's going to be interesting when you say the House of Cards and I know how this is going. I can imagine how this is going to go. We'll be watching the Golazo show. They'll have all of the games on at once. There we'll have a live table, and then there will be a flurry of activity in the last 5-10 minutes where there will be goals, penalties, strange decisions, and all of a sudden teams will be moving around that sort of all of a sudden will jump up. And as I say, it's that game of musical chairs. There will not be a few chairs for some of these big teams to sit on once they're sort of finalized.
That's right. The next one I like. This one actually is a colossus of a match. Is Inter, right?
Yeah.
Inter and AS Monaco and Monaco.
Yes. Okay.
Inter, in my opinion, right now is probably the dark horse favorite to take the whole thing. They have been really under the radar.
Yeah.
They're not doing it through flash. They're not doing it through drama. They're not doing it through anything other than meticulous football, right? Meticulous, crafted, disciplined soccer.
The Italian way.
That's not sexy.
Yeah.
But it is effective. And if they beat Monaco, they're in the top 8. They get some rest.
Yes,
they can go back into that. They can go back into that hellstorm of Liga A, Serie A, right? Yeah, and they can go back into that, like, because that just that's like a boxing match every weekend. But then they win, they get that top 8, and then a draw suddenly opens the door, right? The 13 pointers then all suddenly with a win can get 16 points. And if they get some goals, they could knock. So, yeah. And then Monaco's like right there. Monaco is one of the 13s. They're one of the 13 teams.
They're one of one of the teams with 13 points on. Yeah. So to be honest, but like a draw solidifies everything for both of them, right? So again, my sense here is that they're playing at Inter as well. So Inter will play this the Italian way, which is they'll just sit back, they'll be patient, they'll wait, and like a snake just sort of stalking its prey will then just strike once, get one goal lead, and then shut up shop and sort of move on forward. I
completely agree.
What is good to see is the other side of Milan is also doing quite well and up there in the top part of the table, obviously sitting in sixth place. Obviously, quite a few Americans. Obviously, Captain America, Mr. Pulisic, obviously is in there as well, which is great to see. But again, you think you've got. I'm looking at this, and they've got Milan are playing Dynamo. Is it Dynamo Split? Is that not Split? Dynamo
Zagreb. No, it's Zagreb.
Zagreb, not Split. Sorry, mixing up my summer holidays, summer holiday destinations. Dynamo Zagreb from Croatia. So you'd think that Milan will probably do the business there and be able to get ahead of them, because just looking at Dynamo, I mean, they're all the way down.
I mean, they have to note, but Zagreb are not out.
They are not.
There is a chance. There is a chance. So listen, they're going to be fighting. They're going to be fighting like hell.
8 points, and then the bottom sort of the cutoff point is at 10 points at the moment. So you'd assume that some of those guys are not going to win. So those 8 points, if they can scratch out a win, the draw's not good enough. They need a win, so they're going to have to fight tooth and nail for that one.
And they got a really crappy goal differential, right? So they not only have to win, they got to win, and I mean, listen, it is the smallest of likelihoods, but you have to play for that. And so, I don't think Milan Waltz is in there.
No.
Right. No. I mean, I don't think Milan Waltz is in there and has an easy time of it. I think it's going to be a rough and tough.
And they're away as well, so they're going to be playing at Zagreb's home ground. And again, those Croatian atmospheres are not known for being lovey and sort of full of bubbles and sort of love and happiness. They are intense, aggressive stadiums and venues. But you'd hope that AC Milan. I wonder if, obviously seeing the news that AC Milan have just signed Kyle Walker on loan from Manchester City. I'm assuming he's cup tied there, unless there's been a change to the rules or anything that I'm not unaware of. So I don't think they'll be able to get to show their new shiny trinket that they've managed to bag. But that would be.
I believe you are correct, but I can confirm that. Let me try to see. Yeah. But keep talking while I go and do this search.
I think he'll be cup tied as well. So that's definitely sort of one there. Just sort of looking through some of the other fixtures. Obviously, the one that really jumps out at me is Man City. Now, as everyone knows, I'm a Chelsea fan. Obviously, I was watching the Chelsea-Man City game over the weekend. Thankfully, we're not talking about the Premier League, and we don't need to talk about Chelsea right now because I could dedicate a whole hour to it venting here. But they are playing against Club Brugge, as we've affectionately announced them. And I noticed as well the pundits have also started. I've noticed that
Gary, you can use the French pronunciation of Bruges, and that's acceptable. But let's not butcher it with your tremendously bad Flemish.
That's it. My Flemish is letting me down. But what's interesting is the Flemish has spilled over and started. Even the CBS pundits as well have started calling them Brugge as well. Kate Scott, as she's now known, she's got married, was also sort of pronouncing it that way. So that for me is going to be the interesting game to see there. Right, you've got Man City, who are just outside the playoff phase on 8 points. They need a draw is no good for them. A draw does not do it for them.
Nope.
They need a win. Not. Club Bruges, Brugge, is it Brugge? They're looking pretty good. You'd expect even a draw would be good for them. They would take that. So again, Man City at home as well, so they have that in their favour. Obviously, the win from the weekend against Chelsea and the new signings who do actually look like there are some value there. So you'd expect Man City to win, but again, this is a game that's not over till the whistle goes, and you never know until the final whistle. So and again, we've seen that do have.
Yeah, but I like this fixture. I like this fixture a lot just because of the potential. I mean, I agree with you. City are not the City they were 2 weeks ago, right? They have rediscovered something. And so they have that capacity to come in and be dangerous. I think Brugge is going to have to be careful. But I also think that they can't afford to be complacent. And they can't afford to be, for lack of a better term, Italian it.
Yeah.
They gotta go. I would really hope that it is an open, free flowing, just dynamo of a match. That's all I hope for.
Yep. Well, they're going to have to go for it, right? And again, look, you'd expect that
both teams have to go for it. Both teams have to go for it.
They have to go for it as well. They would.
There's no choice. Draw does nothing for either one.
Yeah. The draw. Yeah.
I mean, they might make it with the draw.
Yeah.
But they don't want to be at the mercy of other teams. They want to own their destiny.
Yes, exactly. So that will definitely be another good one to watch. The other one that I think is definitely worth watching is PSG against Stuttgart here. Both teams in 10 points, correct. 22nd and 24. They're both just inside the playoff phase. Now, again, this is where there's a bit of a stand. Like both teams could get a draw, and then it will come down to goal difference. Just looking at the goal differential at the moment, PSG have got +2, and Stuttgart have got -1. So Stuttgart, actually, to be honest, really a draw doesn't really help them so much. They're going to need a win. In fact, both teams need a win. Both teams need a win.
No, they both need a win. Yeah. I mean, this is a. There's no two ways about it. This is a classic win you're in scenario.
Yep. It's
win you're in, lose you're probably out. It's not a guarantee, but you're probably out.
Yeah, exactly. So
this is a. I mean, and again, 2 weeks ago, I would have looked at this fixture and gone, I don't know, man. PSG could drop it.
Yeah,
but they were good. They were good last week. So if they're staying in that same form, they do have to travel. They have to go to Stuttgart, and that. So I mean, I when you factor in that home, listen, man. This is a toss up. This is a 50-50 game. And it's a game for some player to step up and make a name for themselves. Right? And whether that player is going to be from the French side or the German side, I don't know. But somebody's going to have to step up and put their authority on this game. And we'll be very curious to see who it is. Yeah.
But the thing I found with like PSG is it's really hard to get a read on their form, because if you go and look at the French league, they're dominating, they're running away with it, and it's just not comparable.
That means
right?
nothing.
Exactly. That's exactly the problem. So you can't really get a fair read, right? You can look at Man City and say, okay, Champions League, they slipped up. Okay, then in the Premier League, relatively strong competition. They won on the weekend, so you can read the form there. It's murky sort of looking into that French league, because it's just not as competitive as it could be or needs to be to sort of give you a real read. And again, that reflects by PSG sitting all the way down there, only on 10 points in 22nd place. Yep. All right. The other one that could be also an interesting top up that jumps out to me, and then I know you've got a few more as well, so I'll let you go, but is the Juventus-Benfica game. That is going to be interesting. And you've got Benfica, 10 points, 21st. Again, the way they played last week against Barcelona, they can play. They can play.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they can. But here's how they did it against Barcelona, right? Barcelona played such a high line. They were playing so far up. They were just drifting balls in behind and letting the Greek guy just run. They were just letting Vangelis run like crazy. I don't think Juventus is going to do that. They're gonna sit, park it, make it hard. They're gonna make them really work the ball. So we have to wait and see if Benfica can make that adjustment. And they're in trouble right now. They need that win. Juventus are safe. They're playing, but I don't think they have a chance for. They don't have a realistic chance for the top 8. Yeah. So there's really nothing for them to play for, other than the pride and ruining a whole bunch of Portuguese hearts.
This is possible, yeah.
Which sometimes is enough, but
Yeah, I agree. I think with 12 points, they look pretty safe. They're guaranteed. But again, it's what's interesting is the whole adjustment to this whole format is, if this was the old format, teams like Juventus, like Real Madrid, would have got their 2 or 3 results by now, and have enough points to qualify, and then obviously just, again, we would have all lost interest here. It's got to the point where you've got giant European powerhouses like Juventus, like PSG, like Man City, like Real Madrid, Bayern Munich even as well. I mean, they obviously got thumped last week, obviously. And again, they're probably safe. When I say probably safe, they are safe again if there's some wild set of results, but I don't think that will happen so much. But again, it's not what it used to be in the way that they would just go and waltz in there, win 3 games and win their home games, and then not worry about their away games.
And you can't even strategize when you're in the playoff round. You can't even strategize, oh, well, if we just get this result, we can guarantee that we'll be playing Y. Because all the games are being played in real time.
Yep.
And the way that the whole playoff round works, right? It's a stack ranked, seeded round.
Yes.
So right now, you can look at the table now and you can say, I know who's 9 and 10. Mm-hmm. But they're 9 and 10 aren't going to be the same 9 and 10 by the end of the game.
Yeah.
So if you're like, well, you could sit there, you can't game this. Mm-hmm. You can't strategize this. That is fascinating because, there are minds in the boardrooms and the coaching rooms that will say, oh, don't win this game. We'll make an effort. But if we don't win this game, we're going to be seeing, right? Happens in World Cup draws all the time. We know that we're going to be playing second place B, right? And it's like, okay, we got that. You can't do that here. Mm-hmm. There's a chance that you could win a game, move up to 10, and you're playing Barcelona or Real Madrid or somebody like, and you're like, golly, I didn't, But maybe you're playing Lille or Brest. I don't know. You don't know.
You don't.
And that unknown just makes it that much more special.
Are you familiar with how the seeding or the playoff pot sort of seeding will work in these two? If so, can you explain that to me? Because I'm not familiar.
I can. I have done my homework, Gary. It's essentially so you seed everything from 9 all the way down to, is it 24? Right?
24.
9 to 24. Yeah, there's 12 teams. And so at the conclusion of all games, the final table is calculated. The top 8 teams get pushed off to the side. The bottom 8 teams get shoved under the rug. And then 9 through 24 basically get stack ranked. So 9 and 10 get put in a pot with 23 and 24. And it is a random draw between who you get from 9-10 to 23-24. It's a draw. So it's kind of like a mini draw.
Yeah. Okay. And then it's the same thing. Then 11 and 12, the same thing with
bingo. And it goes from there to there, and then it just kind of goes down until the middle of the group, all we're in there.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The seeded team gets the final fixture at home.
Okay. And of course,
they get the advantage. Yeah, they get the advantage of playing the final fixture at their home stadium. That's that's the advantage they get.
That's the benefit you get, is having that sort of home thing. But again,
correct.
But again, when no away goals, it's less because you just go and smash them on the first fixture. That's the idea and the thinking, is just go and play as hard as you can on the first.
It is a bummer that the away goal rule has been rescinded.
I did like that
because that would absolutely give an advantage. Right.
And another dimension of just like, what the hell is going on?
And another dimension. But you know what? Listen, no matter how you do it, it all works out, right? It all works out. So we'll just wait and see.
Wow. Any other?
But that's how the playoffs work. Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that. Any other fixtures on your end that are sort of screaming out and jumping out at you? Because I think also, if we go and look at the top of the table, like, who makes it through to the automatic qualification versus the knockout? Because again, as you say, that has big implications. So you've got to play 2 extra games, especially in these already busy fixture schedules, fixture calendars. There's a lot of games, and you don't want to be doing that, right? So any games on the top there?
I think the Lille versus Feyenoord.
Yes.
That's another. These are two 13-pointers. Mm-hmm. And so you win that game, and you have a chance for a top 8.
Yeah.
So they're both going to be like, right, let's do this. Mm-hmm. Feyenoord is on the road, and they are under a ban, so their fans cannot go to that game.
The Feyenoord fans?
Feyenoord fans are Gary, don't get me started on the Feyenoord fans. No, they're under a travel ban. They're not allowed to go to two away fixtures in France.
What specific? Okay, tell me, explain what.
Don't know why. Don't know why. I don't know. I literally do not know why, but I do remember seeing that, and so that gives Lille a little advantage. Okay, right? I mean, Feyenoord's they're decent. They're strong.
Yep.
Stubborn, but in a hostile stadium.
Yep.
May not work out for them. Lille have a lot to play for. Let's see.
And Feyenoord was Arne Slot's old team, is that right? Feyenoord were...
That is correct.
Yeah, so there's
Slot's old team, right?
Slot's pedigree in there as well, yeah.
Villa versus Celtic, I think, is interesting because Villa dropped the ball last week.
They did.
Right?
They really did.
They did. They dropped the ball. Celtic... with the most improbable win, I think, in the entire Champions League fixture. That was just absolute craziness. Mm-hmm. They're safe. They are the last safe team, right, in the standings. Mm-hmm. So they can kind of skate it. But Villa really need a win. Right? Villa wants the win because they were in the top 8. Yeah. And they're one of the highest ranked 13-pointers. Mm-hmm. So they get a win. They have a very strong chance at that top 8. And that's huge for them because they need to be able to rest out. They need to be able to rest out some of their players.
They have.
Do not know if their new sub Malen is eligible. I'm looking. He might be blocked because he came from Borussia Dortmund, who is also in the Champions League. So I think he's also under the cup tie, under the cup tie.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Borussia too, because they're playing Shakhtar Donetsk, right? And so Shakhtar, they're still alive.
They can, if they need a win.
They are on life support, but they really need to, Dortmund can't make it to the top 8. They would need a cascading series of miracles in order to do it. So I don't think that's really anything realistic. But Shakhtar have a lot. They might be able to make it. This is a miracle. If there was a miracle game, it's this one, right? Because the result with some miracles could actually propel one of these two into something that was completely unexpected. Not likely.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a fun match. I mean, both Bayern teams, Leverkusen and Munich should thump their Eastern European rivals. I don't see that as being much of a contest. I think Arsenal has to be careful going to Girona because Girona is one of those teams where they got nothing to play for, right? They were eliminated 2 weeks ago. So, but they've got a lot of pride, and they've been attending every match with a tremendous amount of passion and fire. And so I would expect that to happen. Arsenal, could stumble. Not going to make a difference. Arsenal's in.
Arsenal are through. Yeah, Arsenal are good. Yeah.
They're through, and they're mathematically, it's practically impossible for them to not get. It's almost impossible for them to not get a top 8 spot, right?
Yeah.
So and that's really it. What's really nice is that there are only 2 absolute non-consequential fixtures in this week, and I find that surprising. In normally you would expect that with 7 teams already eliminated, you'd say that there were probably some more that don't matter, but no. The only ones are Graz and Leipzig, and then Young Boys in Belgrade.
Yeah,
those are the only games where nothing that happens there makes any difference to the future. It's done, right?
Yeah, they're done.
Ooh, the last one. I forgot about this one. Sporting and Bologna.
Yes.
Sporting and Bologna, because Bologna, again, they're already eliminated, got nothing to play for, but I swear they want to ruin everybody's day. And Sporting is in trouble. Sporting is one of the 10-pointers. They're right there on that bubble.
Yeah.
And they desperately need a win, right? Gyökeres has to deliver for them. And Bologna is going to absolutely pummel that kid. They're going to just hit him sideways.
Yeah. What's interesting is, and again, I know we've discussed this, but again, I just can't help but think if you're the Sporting fans and players and just even sort of upper management as well, you had Amorim, you had the Manchester United manager, you were flying high, you had the hottest striker in Europe, you were top of the league, you were and you're doing really well in the Champions League. And then if you just look at their form, their Champions League form, they've lost their last 3. So since Amorim has gone, they've just lost them. And then remember, they hired a manager, I think the name eludes me, and then they fired that new manager. So they've gone through 2 managers already. Probably not too dissimilar to Manchester United. I think Manchester United have also done the same thing as well. Yeah. But I wonder if also just thinking about, there's also the transfer window going on, which closes in 4 days' time. So if you're hypothetically, it closes at the end of January 31st, Jan 31st.
February 2nd.
Is it February 2nd? Okay, they pushed even more. So there's a few more days. Okay, even better. So if you are...
although each country has their own little wiggle areas. But I believe February 2nd is the... Yeah.
Okay, is the cutoff. So if you are this striker, which again, I'm really having an issue naming clubs in place.
Bucharest.
Thank you, yes. If you are him, Victor, who is hot property, obviously there's a lot of big clubs looking for strikers at the moment. You all of a sudden have fallen out of favor in terms of the team, the performance, the sort of probably lost a little bit of motivation and thought, okay, maybe it is now time for a change. If Sporting don't qualify or get into those knockout phases and actually get sort of ejected from the Champions League, he may just sit around and say, actually, probably now's the time to make the move as well, and then go and jump onto another team. You may not go and get Champions League football, but you can go and join an Arsenal. You can go and join one of the big boys, and sort of go and get picked up there and sort of continue to kick on your career that way and get a payday as well.
He is a big rat on a sinking ship.
Yes.
And I mean, it's like, I'm using that as an analogy. I'm not trying to like besmirch his character or anything, but it's like, he is, I would very much classify him as a flight risk. If Sporting loses to Bologna, then there's a chance that his agent probably has orders that if it happens to immediately at the end of the game start firing up the
engaging
texting
engaging Fabrizio Romano and start leaking and saying, well, he's looking to go, and that's how it goes, right? And so
that's exactly right.
If you are Sporting's leadership, again, you look around, you must be kicking yourself thinking, now on one hand there's probably nothing you could have done about Amorim if he said, look, Man, you have come, I have to take this job, you have to go. But it's crazy how sort of the macro effects impact you, and how Sporting have just really sort of nosedived, particularly in the Champions League here, and obviously sort of in their form. And again, if you're Victor, I'm just going to refer to him as Victor just to sort of, so we know who we're talking about. Again, you've probably lost a little bit of sort of enthusiasm and motivation to want to sort of continue on. And look, undoubtedly he's leaving probably at the end of the season regardless, because he's earned it. He's going to get the big money move. But can he force it now and just say, look, I think it's time. I want to move now, and it's time to get going. So that will be that. Okay. Any other? I think we've covered most of the sort of the big fixtures.
Well, no, the only two that we haven't covered are Barcelona and Atalanta, which I think. Barcelona is already locked in. They can't get out of the top 8. Yeah. Like you said, they pull the kids. This is an academy game, right? They want to pull the kids in. They want to give them a chance, which really gives Atalanta a chance to hold their top 8 spot. They're 7th right now.
They need it. Yeah.
With 14 points. Mm-hmm. Listen, what a perfect. I mean, when they were looking at that, they were probably cursing themselves when they first got that draw, right? When the fixtures all came out, they're like, "Crap, we got to play Barcelona in the last game. This is going to be." Now they're probably like, "Oh, thank God we're playing Barcelona in the last game," because even though they know they're going to be having to playing, the cream of La Masia, they could just put their A team in and have a good chance. Yep. So, Atalanta probably. I'm thinking they draw. I think Atalanta can at least eke a draw,
and that's good.
And that should be enough to give them. That should. Yeah. Oh yeah, that'll lock them in.
Yeah.
15 points should be good enough. Not every 13-point team is going to win, and so that 15 points should at least get them. A fighting chance. A fighting chance for the. A fighting chance for that. And then the last one is, of course, top-seeded Liverpool, who literally should probably just write a note to PSV and say, "Thanks, guys, but No thanks.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that, of course, but still, they should. And honestly, PSV would be like, "Thank you, we'll take it."
Because
that 3 points is 3 points is 3 points is 3 points, and it puts them in. So
PSV need the result here as well.
They need it. Oh yeah, they're a 10-pointer, so it's like, or an 11-pointer. So they absolutely, they're not in the safe zone.
Yeah,
right. They're a bubble team, so they need to win. Again, I don't know.
Does Arne
Slot do?
Does Arne Slot do his countrymen a favor here and say, "All right, guys, I'm going to play the Scouse kids and sort of see what they do there."
Firstly, Arne Slot does not like PSV.
He's fair, obviously being fair, obviously big rivals, of course. But I'm sure there's some Dutch people in there that he knows and sort of maybe as a countryman. But I agree. But
it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't think it would matter.
Yeah.
No, he's gonna. I think he rests his big guys. I think Salah takes a seat. I think Van Dijk takes a seat. I think he's going to give it to Quantz. He's going to give it to Gomez if he's still healthy. I can't even remember who's healthy, who's not. But
yeah.
I think he puts. I think he's playing younger people.
Yeah.
Right. I think you see Keller in the goal.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Right.
Yeah. I think
Keller. I mean, it's like, and it's not for a disrespect thing. It's they don't need it. This is literally the most inconsequential game that they're going to be playing this year so far. Right.
Yes.
I mean, it's this is absolutely inconsequential.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore they should treat it as an opportunity to give experience to their younger players.
Yeah, and rest them. And Liverpool have Bournemouth coming up on the weekend as well, which is obviously just to the form that they're in as well. That's I know they're away. So
such a good game.
So yeah, so you'd think that they would have one eye on that and just say, look, I agree with you.
They have to.
And what's interesting, just on a sort of more macro strategic level here, is the rules of the game say that you must play your best team at all times. And this has always bubbled up, particularly sort of in England with sort of the FA Cup third round, when the big teams would play their kids against the non-league teams, as we've discussed in previous episodes. But I think the world has changed so much in the fact that there's so many more games, so much more intensity, obviously so much more sort of competition and sort of issues with injury as well. I don't think that the authorities can sort of, beat them over the head with that and say, look, you didn't play your best team here. I think it's just like, guys, look, we've been running away with it. We're done. We're good. Here are the kids. We're giving everyone and giving everyone a chance and giving the stars a rest. They don't need to go and travel. Don't need to get over there and sort of go traveling over the channel into Holland. So yeah, I agree with you. That would be the smart thing. But the one thing I will say is Arne Slot has really, really surprised me just with his mentality and his approach. In the games where you have expected him to say, all right, let's take it easy, let's take sort of rest, he is not. He has really sort of, put all their teams, put sort of, gone for it and really not let up. They've been absolutely dominant. So maybe he doesn't want to tarnish his record. Yeah. It will be an interesting one to look out for.
I don't know. I will wait and see. One thing that I do like very much about Slot is that he, for all of his, like you say, for all of his commitment to always being competitive, he also isn't afraid to just mix things up. Mm-hmm. And so we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see what goes on, right?
Yeah.
Watch the feeds, watch the news feeds tomorrow, because that's when they'll probably be hinting at who they're going to line up, and then we wake up Wednesday morning to find out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So moving through predictions as we're getting there, who do you think does not make the cut completely and gets kicked out of the Champions League?
I mean, I think the greatest likelihood is City. Mm-hmm. I think they have the biggest stumbling. Mm-hmm. I think Benfica, unfortunately, has a very good chance. I think Benfica is not going to make it. Mm-hmm. I think Stuttgart is not going to make it. Mm-hmm. They might be able to pull something out, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think those three, I think, have the highest likelihood. Mm-hmm. Sporting, maybe. Right, they're, like you said, they're terrible form. If they don't, they really need a result. Mm-hmm. They might not get the result, so we'll have to wait and see. right now I'm looking. Those are my real risk teams. Right,
Interesting.
It's City, and of course I think Zagreb, Shakhtar. They're the two. They're the two that are just below Man City. So City, Zagreb, Shakhtar are already in the relegation zone. City needs a result to come out of it. But I think, it's going to be Benfica, Stuttgart, Man City, and then possibly Sporting are the four greatest likelihood to not make it.
Interesting. I think PSG, I just don't have a feeling PSG against Stuttgart.
Wow.
I think
Damn.
I think Stuttgart take PSG on this one. I think Stuttgart take PSG on this one. So then that puts Stuttgart up on 13 points. Obviously, other results will determine that. Obviously, Sporting against Bologna, I think Sporting just grind through. But I take your point, and I agree with you that Bologna do like to mess around, like to sort of make things difficult. I think City is sort of getting their bubble, their form, and their bounce back. And so I think Stuttgart win, I think Sporting win, I think City win, and then I think that leaves PSG without a chair to sit down on. And I think they go. And once that happens, then Luis Enrique gets.
That means that Brugge probably goes down.
Yeah, if that happens as
because
well,
City jumps above them.
Yeah, City they'll get to 12, right? They'll be on
and
12,
the goal differential, so that all.
It will come down to goal difference. It will absolutely. There will be some goal difference tightness. It's exciting.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
Exciting stuff. Interesting. Wonderful.
So but here's the question: who do you think's going to? I mean, that's for the elimination. But who do you think makes the top 8?
Yeah, I think. Look, obviously the top.
We already know Liverpool and Barcelona. They're done. So who are the next 6? Who are the next 6 in the top 8?
I think Arsenal, Inter are absolutely good.
Agree.
I think. Atletico as well. I still think they do the business as well. Atletico have looked really good again. Even Julian Alvarez against Salzburg as well. I think they're just going to absolutely run over them as well. So I think Atletico are good. Milan I think Milan will do the business there, to be honest. So I think Milan stay in there. Atalanta as well. I again, it depends what. Similar to the sort of slot conversation, what does Hansi Flick do at Barcelona? Does he also lay out the kids, or does he say, no, we're playing for pride?
Exactly right.
Maybe he thinks, actually, wait, we've got...
Hey, listen, if he put Chesney in, Atalanta's guaranteed to win.
Jesus. He's,
I mean, I understand that he had to come out of retirement. They had lost both their goalkeepers. It was a desperate thing. Are you that desperate? There are other keepers out there.
No one in La Masia. They didn't have anyone in La Masia they could have thrown in as well. But yeah, if Schneider...
I seriously don't think they could have. I mean, they could have put a 16-year-old and it would have been better.
This is true. He definitely was. Not too dissimilar to Sanchez, Chelsea Sanchez on the weekend as well. But yeah, so those two guys.
He was worse than Sanchez, and that's saying something.
And he's just come out of retirement. Well, he's come out of retirement, so you've got to give him something. But I do agree with you. I think pretty much the sort of top 8 locks as it is, to be perfectly honest, just looking through that. Again, the reason why those teams are up there is...
because you've got Leverkusen going to Bratislava, right? So, it's Bratislava, I think.
Yeah,
so
Leverkusen.
Yeah, they're not going to lose. They are not going to lose that.
Yeah, no. So I think that the top 8 are pretty much locked. The only ones who are the risk, I believe, is Milan. They're the only ones who I see as potentially there could be a bit on a skin, and that just kicks them out. And so then the question is who wins from that sort of top band there? You'd look at, like Lille could be the dark horse, right? Again, if Liverpool feel that soft side. I'm sorry, not Liverpool. What am I talking about? Lille playing Feyenoord, right? So if Lille do the business against Feyenoord, which again,
that's right.
Or even, but here's the interesting. Even Feyenoord actually, depending on, that's actually a really critical game because.
Well, I mean they're completely even.
Yeah.
They have the exact same record, same goal differential.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like they either stand on top of the other's shoulders, or they both go shoulder to shoulder in sitting where they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I don't know what the tiebreaker is in the event of. I don't know what the tiebreaker is. It's goal differential.
If it's the same, then they look at who scored the most goals. And then who scored the least goals? That's how they determine.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. That actually makes sense. So that makes sense. So I think Feyenoord probably has the edge on that stat.
I would agree.
To be honest with you.
So I think the sort of surprise. I think that top 8 pretty much looks like the only one I would potentially change out is maybe Feyenoord with Milan. But we'll see what happens. And then of course Villa Celtic. I'd expect Villa to beat Celtic, but again that will actually be a good game. That will be a very, very good game. So yeah,
I mean, Celtic always want. I mean, the Scottish teams always want to beat the English teams.
Of course, yes, yeah. Right? And there's added passion as well that Prince William is a big Aston Villa fan as well. So I'm sure the Scots obviously love to stick it to the Royals as well. So there's that added motivation there.
Yeah. And by the way, Feyenoord has 17 goals versus Lille's 11. So it's like, yes.
Yeah. So
they absolutely own that tiebreak.
Yeah, so they would have it there. So yeah, so I would put Feyenoord up there, but again, it depends on other results as well. And there's so many moving parts here to try and predict this. But I think that top 8 looks pretty locked. As I say, the only ones that are risk to it would be Milan, who could potentially tumble out. But again, if they win, then they're fine against Zagreb.
Interesting thing, Feyenoord have so many goals that they could actually jump over Villa, Monaco. They have more goals than Villa, Monaco, Lille, Brest. They with their goal tally, that could actually be a huge thing for them. So watch out for those sneaky Rotterdammers. Indeed. Okay, and then any other wild predictions as well? I think in terms of bumping out, I think the other question is which. So for me, I think those top 8 are locked. How does that look for you, Qooligan? Do you think there's any who are? Yeah, no, I listen. I think you're right. I don't see a tremendous amount of movement in there. And if it does happen, it's going to come at Leverkusen's expense, possibly Atalanta's expense. If they stumble, right? It's Atalanta's to lose. Really. Yes. They're in the driver's seat. Can they actually, bring it over the finish line? If they do, they're fine. But they have that risk. They run that risk.
Yeah, I think for me, like Leverkusen, and as I've written before, and as I've mentioned before many times as well, I'm a huge Xabi Alonso fan. I think.
Yeah, you're a fanboy, but that's all right. He's all right.
I think Leverkusen are like your Inter, my Leverkusen. I think they are the dark horse that can go all the way here. I think they could go all the way.
You're going to be so embarrassed that you said that. They're going
to get drawn against Liverpool and get smashed up.
But I love that you went there. I love that you went there.
It's on the record. So yeah,
yes, it is.
We've had some good calls and good predictions here. We've also had some absolute shockers as well, and they will continue. Shockers and the winners will continue to.
One can only hope that there's some upheaval.
Yeah, you'd hope so. Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Qooligan, as always. Well, listen, I think, going in Wednesday, obviously 12 o'clock. Is it 12 o'clock Pacific time is when all the games kick off on your end? Is that right?
I believe so. 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern.
Yeah, 2 o'clock my time.
12 in the Central, and then for all of you mountain people, I'm not sure.
Yeah, sometime. Anyway, well, we will be looking at it, watching at it, drooling at it, and it's going to be exciting. The first of its kind.
And screaming at the television.
Screaming. The only request that I have to the CBS team is please remove Nico Cantor. Please, I do not find him that entertaining. I don't think he's that much of a pundit. I think they've got a really good winning structure, but it's going to be a Golazo show bonanza, and we'll have to ensue and see what happens there.
True. All right, Gary.
All right, Qooligan. Thanks as always.
Until Wednesday.
See you later.
Bye.